Hello everyone, I'm Jared Ross, Policy Officer at the European Commission, and today I will be presenting the Sklodowska Curie actions. The Sklodowska Curie actions, otherwise called MSCA, are the main EU program for doctoral education and postdoctoral training. The MSCA promote the development of skills and the career of doctoral and postdoctoral researchers in Europe and elsewhere. The program support organizations to set up their doctoral programs and postdoctoral fellowship schemes and attract talent from all over the world in Europe. The program focuses on excellence in research, but also on the connections made between different research organizations around the world, and it promotes collaboration across countries, socioeconomic sectors, and also disciplines. Most of the programs and projects we fund focus on these different aspects. The MSCA is a mobility-based program, meaning that all the researchers we fund under this scheme have to move from one country to the other to gain skills and develop their career elsewhere. Today I will speak about the opportunities available under this scheme for researchers and for organizations. Starting with researchers, the MSCA support future doctoral candidates but also postdoctoral researchers. I will explain you why. If you are a future PhD candidate, you are finishing your master's and are thinking about starting a PhD, you might want to do so in Europe. The MSCA are the right tool to do so. What is important to remember is that the MSCA do not fund tuition fees for a PhD you're already doing for a project ongoing, but rather you will have to apply to a specific vacancy posted on the main EU job portals or specifically on your access, and then you will go through an evaluation process basically and eventually be recruited by an organization based in Europe. When I say Europe, it's the European Union and countries around it. So if you find a vacancy on your access that is suitable to your profile, you will have to screen the different requirements and apply within the deadline established for that particular vacancy. Usually, the project advertising that vacancy will support you for a period of around 3 years, but up to 4 years, depending on the kind of program. What is important to remember is that there are no limits to the nationality. You can apply no matter what your nationality or age, but you should not have a doctoral degree at the time of applying for that particular vacancy. Also, since the MSCA obliges you to move from one country to the other, you cannot have carried out your main activity in the country that will host you for more than 1 year in the past 36 months, so in the past 3 years. The MSCA, through the projects it funds, will cover your salary, your mobility cost. The MSCA will also give some grant to the organization that will host you to cover your cost to develop your skills, attend conferences, also for equipment, tuition, everything. So these grants will cover most of the money needed to develop your project in that given period. If you're a postdoctoral researcher, again, you will have to go to your access and screen the different vacancies available and apply to the one that suits your profile. In this case, you will be covered for a period usually of about 2 years. It can depend, it can vary from one vacancy to the other. And again, the grant will cover all the costs needed to carry out your project for that period. And also you will be supported to carry out your research, get trained, attend conferences, and anything you might need. Here again, there are no limits to nationality or age, but you will have to have a doctoral degree or have defended your thesis successfully at the time of applying. Once again, you should not have carried out your main activity or work at the country that will host you for more than 1 year in the past 3 years. Another option you have as a postdoctoral researcher is to apply to European postdoctoral fellowships. These fellowships are very famous and are one of the most renowned schemes around the world for postdoctoral researchers. Here we give support to postdoctoral researchers to train and develop their career in Europe for a period of up to 2.5 years, between 2 and 2.5 years, but the projects can be shorter. And you will have to find a suitable supervisor with whom you will develop an original proposal, a project that you will carry out for that time period, and then send a proposal in reply to a call that we publish yearly. In this case, you will have to explain why your project is excellent, why it is an original proposal, and why the host organization is the best one to develop your skills and your career and gain the knowledge you need to carry out your project. Here you will need to have a doctoral degree at the moment of applying, and once again there are no limits of age or nationality. However, you should not have more than 8 years experience at the moment of 8 years experience in research at the moment of applying. You can check the exact conditions on our website. Once again, you will have to comply with the mobility rule that you can see on the screen. Now I will speak briefly about the opportunities available for organizations under the MSCA. As I said before, the MSCA supports organizations to set up doctoral program, postdoctoral fellowship programs, and also collaborative research programs. Here, the participation modalities vary from one scheme to the other. I will come to that afterwards. But what is important to remember is that we support organizations of all socioeconomic sectors, meaning that if you are a university, a research center, a research facility, a company, a governmental organization, you can participate. There are no limits as long as the activities that you suggest concern research and innovation activities, basically. Organizations based outside of the European Union and as what we call associated countries are referred to as third country organizations, and they can participate, host and send researchers in different ways. I will come to that, and eventually also receive European funds to carry out these research and innovation activities and train researchers at their premises paid by EU funding. The interest about the MSCE is that it will allow you to create new connections, attract talent at your premises, and develop new collaborative projects with partners from all over the world. There are different types of projects you can apply to. In most cases, you will have to team up with research organizations in Europe and around the world and fulfill certain criteria announced on our website to apply. I will start with doctoral networks. Doctoral networks are partnerships of organizations that team up to create a doctoral program and recruit doctoral candidates. The goal is to develop the skills and the career of those excellent researchers and train them in Europe and also elsewhere, and develop an original project that will train these researchers in a particular field of research. There are no limits when it comes to the field of research that can be funded. And what is important is that we also give incentives to develop joint degrees and also to train researchers in academia and outside of it. We have a specific kind of project called industrial doctorates, where researchers train more or less half of their time in academia and half of their time in what we call the non-academic sector, meaning companies, public sector, or SMEs. Another type of project that you can apply to are postdoctoral fellowships. So for postdoctoral fellowships, you can post vacancies on Euraccess or other job portals for researchers and develop a proposal together with a researcher to recruit them for up to 2 years. In this case, the researchers will apply to the so-called global fellowships, where they will spend up to 2 years at an organization in a third country, and then they will be obliged to carry out a last year of research in Europe. In this case, you will have to announce a vacancy, a host offer with a supervisor that will develop the proposal with the researcher applying, and you will submit a proposal together in reply to a yearly call for proposals. Another type of project that you can apply to, and I would say this is the most interesting one for organizations that have previous experience with Erasmus or that have international connections are staff exchanges. Staff exchanges projects are collaborative research projects that bring together organizations in Europe and around the world to exchange staff for periods of between 1 and 12 months and carry out activities such as sharing knowledge, developing training schemes, developing joint projects, or other research and innovation activities. Here we support these organizations to exchange any kind of staff involved in research and innovation activities, be it researchers, administrative and managerial staff, technicians, and so on. Finally, CoFund, the last scheme I will talk about today, offers the opportunity to organizations to develop new or support existing doctoral programs or postdoctoral fellowship schemes that will be able to recruit researchers and develop their skills and career. In this case, the European Union grants a given amount of money, and the organizations implementing those projects will have to top up the EU budget to, let's say, cover the full amount needed to recruit these researchers and train them mostly in Europe, but they will also be able to spend research periods abroad. If you need more information about these schemes and how to apply, you can go to our website or to the main source of information for the yearly calls we publish, the Funding and Tenders portal. If you're an individual researcher, I remind you that you should just go to your Access, screen all the vacancies advertised. They're published all year round, so you don't need to wait for an annual call, and eventually apply to those particular vacancies. If you need more information, you can also follow us on our website, Facebook, X, and also subscribe to our newsletter that we send bi-monthly. Thank you for listening, and we hope to hear from you soon.